Alrighty. Whoo! What's up, YouTube? It is good to be back home. Finally, I missed my office. I've been gone for the better half of 6 days traveling for work, and I am finally back home. Let's talk about today's video, shall we? I typically work from home. This is actually not only the office where I record, but this is also the office in which I work. This week, I had the chance to go to Palm Beach. I decided to drive on Sunday to head down to West Palm. I never travel on Sundays, mind you, but this was different because it was Super Bowl, and I knew I was gonna be absolutely wrecked on Sunday night, and I said, well, I need to be at work still, and if I'm driving in the morning, I'm probably gonna be late because it's just gonna be one of those games. And I didn't have a dog in the fight, mind you. I'm a Seahawks fan. But anyways, I digress. So I drove down Sunday, and my plan was I was going to do some filming with the drone. I brought my DJI Spark. I've been like flying this thing a lot. You guys are probably so tired of hearing about it, but I've been flying it a lot, really giving it a good chance. So I took it with me, and I went down to Palm Beach, and I was going to fly, and I found this really awesome location where there was like a bridge, a drawbridge, and there was no airports anywhere. It seemed like it was pretty safe. I get to the location, I get everything set up, and I said, well, let me just check my app to see if I can even fly here. And lo and behold, there was nothing surrounding that would stop me from flying, but there was a TFR. And if you don't know what that is a temporary flight restriction. Or in this case, it was a Trump flight restriction. Donald Trump was in town, and basically there was no flying, and I was close enough to Mar-a-Lago that I'm almost certain if I would have attempted to fly, I probably would have got an email or gotten in trouble, and I just wasn't going to risk it. Which got me thinking as I was driving back to my hotel, you know, as we make drones way consumer friendly, and like you can see from that DJI event, he basically pulled it out of his pocket, and if that's the trend we're going towards and just average consumers are going to buy it, y'all need to know some rules of the air. And one of those rules is understanding restrictions or advisories in your area. So today's video is going to be about knowing that, and I have 4 applications that I like to use to sort of give me the layout of the land, if you will, or the air in an area that I'm going to attempt to fly. So let's get into that today. So I'm comprising this list basically of my top 4 applications, and there may be more applications, and feel free to comment below if you know of an app that I didn't mention here, but I'm going to basically rank these from 4 to 1, 1 being my absolute favorite app, must download, and then 4 being, I guess we'll say, honorable mentions. Coming in at number 4 is the Before You Fly app, and this is the official application from the FAA. Now, it's a fairly decent application, don't get me wrong, it does a great job for what it is, but I think given the fact that it's the FAA, this thing should be way better than what it is. It's sort of a clunky application. It does give you a lot of information, it's just trying to decipher that information, and it may not be very new pilot friendly in a sense. There's just like this big warning as soon as you open it, the map takes forever for it to actually load, and then even then it just doesn't really make sense. You can find information about national parks and things like that on there, which is great, but I'll give this as my number 4, and it's definitely the honorable mention application. Now, my third favorite app on this list is Kitty Hawk. Now, Kitty Hawk could have easily fell into the number 2 slot, but I'm going to explain in a moment why it did not. So Kitty Hawk is a pretty robust application. It really does offer a lot for the pilot, especially for advanced pilots. There's things like weather, you have your advisories, you have a really solid map on here, and you also have different flight conditions and GPS information that is useful to an experienced pilot. It also offers you areas where you can and cannot fly, and you can even sync your DJI flight records. But where this application falls short is the fact that they charge so much for their add-on features, anywhere from $1.99 all the way up to $149 a year. And because of that, I really can't recommend this as my number 2 favorite app. Coming in at number 2 is Hover. Hover is an awesome application. I really like it. It's really super simple. It's just either ready to fly or you're not. It says it right on the home screen. There's a really intuitive map that works really well. You can also have your flight logs. There's weather. There's even an area for news, drone related news, and a timer to actually time your flights. Hover's definitely my number 2, but my ultimate favorite app for figuring out whether I can fly is AirMap. AirMap is so well thought out. It's really well designed. You get a green triangle if you're good to go, an orange if there's some caution, and then a red if you can't fly at all. It really isolates advisories in your area very well. It even breaks down heliports, power plants, and schools and hospitals, which are technically also no-fly zones, which I could really appreciate. For new or experienced pilots, AirMap is an absolute must, and it's definitely my number one. One of the nice things about this application, you can actually set up your flight path from the application and just like sort of draw it out with your finger, which is pretty cool. And then it will show up on there for other pilots to see. You can also call airports directly from the application. It lists their numbers. Whether or not it goes to the control tower, I don't know. I've never really flown in areas like that yet, so I haven't had to worry about it too much. But AirMap is definitely going to be my number one recommended app. So there you go. There's 4 applications that I would absolutely encourage you to download if you're a new pilot, and it will definitely save you from 1, being in trouble, or getting a huge fine when you don't want to pay the money. Yeah, so if you don't want to pay a huge fine, make sure you download the app so you're not flying in an area or under a temporary flight restriction. Now, to be fair, flight restrictions are nothing new. They happen at ball games. The Super Bowl had a flight restriction. Every single president has a flight restriction. It's just they're more prevalent now since UAVs are becoming more accessible to everyone. So just know the rules of the air before you fly, and you'll never have to worry about paying a fine. That actually almost rhymed. Know the rules before you fly so you don't pay a fine. Patent pending. I think I'm gonna patent that. That could be a jingle. I think that could actually be a jingle. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this very quick 6 minutes later an informational video. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. But if you loved it, go ahead and hit that sub button so you don't miss any of my future content just like this. And just remember, nobody knows more about drones than Original Dobo. Trust me, I'm the president. I would know.